Okay, everybody, DK with Mr. V Amps. Welcome to an episode of What the Hell Did I Get Myself Into? This is what's left of a crate BX-100. I think this is a bass amp. Because we had gotten caught up with all the stuff here in the shop, I did opt to take some repairs from a regional music store, and this one they said they wanted done first because apparently the owner's been waiting a while for it. So the first thing I see is, obviously I'm not the first monkey in this jungle. We got some car kind of speaker wire here hooked up to the whatever. So somebody replaced the speaker wire, and there's two things here hooked up to the positive lead. I don't know if that's right or not. I don't know. It's possible that this is, you know, a feedback, maybe. I don't know. But I'm sure we can hopefully pull a schematic. But the other thing you can see is Buddy had this up, I'm sure, because this heatsink is probably supposed to be flipped, so it's also holding that driver transistor down so it can wick some heat too. But I suppose we'll fire it up and see what we got. Okay, so we have this in our designated work area. Before I even try to determine anything more about this, let's just see if we're already really bamboozled here. So I'll just take our beeper here. We're going to see if our power transistors are blown. I'm getting diode readings and not dead shorts. It's a good sign. And then our little driver over here. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like that stuff is not shorted out. So that's a good sign. And this is supposed to have, how big of a refuse in it here? What does it say? It's supposed to have a 2.5 amp normal blow fuse. So that is a 2.5. That's 2.5. So that's the appropriate fuse. And this is an older crate because it's made in USA. So, not a Chinesium one. Alright. But we definitely had somebody in here playing around. Alright, so yeah, this is what I was left for speaker leads. That's probably not good. But we'll just go get a speaker out of the scrap and see what happens. Okay, so my war-torn Radio Shack speaker is hooked up. There it is. Got it hooked up to the wires as they are. And I got it plugged in, so okay, so I turn it on and I can feel that it's on, but let's see, turn up the master, nothing. There's, I mean, it should, this is a power amp, it should make a thumpy sound. That should make a good thump when you turn it on. I think something ain't right here, to be honest with you. I think we're going to have to go hunt down a schematic, because when I flip that on, it should bump. You know? It's an amplifier. It's a solid state amplifier. They make things go bump. And it ain't bumping. Okay, kids, so I think I figured something out. I listened to the headphones, and the headphone jack did produce sound. Okay? I can hear the hiss of the amplifier, and the volume knobs change the level of the hiss in the amplifier when I have the headphone jack plugged in. So that tells me something there's working. This actually, for the out to the speaker, appears to be correct. And then the ground has to travel back. There's an external speaker thing here that if you put that in there, it'll wire the two in series to increase the ohms. And then that actually has to pass back through the headphone jack to find ground. And it looks like the little closure switch on the headphone jack is not closing. So that would actually be your problem. So let me just push it closed here with my little meter probe. Let's see if we get anywhere with that thought. Okay, so like I say, I think it's the switch on the headphone jack. Let me try to turn this all the way up in here if I can hear some sound when I touch that connector back together. Yes, this speaker now makes a slight hissing sound. And when I flip it on with the volume full up, see it goes boink. Can you, I don't know if you see that, let me show you. That's, obviously this is supposed to be a beefy amplifier, so it should make that speaker jump, and that's a powerful speaker. It's a piece of crap, but it works. So that's your problem right there. It is the headphone jack is not properly grounding the negative terminal for the speaker. Okay, so that is right in there. I'll bring you some light so you can see what we're talking about. It's this one right there, and that isn't closing all the way it's supposed to. So how do we fix that? Probably some contact cleaner and a little bit of manipulation, I hope. We'll get that to seal down good, and if that doesn't play ball, then we might have to replace the jack. Okay, I think I've got it fiddled with pretty good. The speaker's hissing. I know you can't tell that, but if I plug in my headphones, it shuts up. If I pull them back out, it starts hissing again. So I think this is supposed to be, I think BX-100 is like supposed to be a 100-watt bass amp. So I would think this thing is probably really friggin' loud. It's actually really friggin' quiet if I don't have the volume turned up. And let's see, what does this switch do? This is line out, this is EQ, this is master, and then I have contour and input. Okay, good enough. So let's just plug an instrument in and see if it works. Okay, so mind you, the speaker is indeed ratted out. It is a bad ratted out speaker. So it's making all kinds of rattly and farty noises, but yeah, that's it. That's your lot. So this Crate BX-100 didn't work because the headphone jack was keeping the ground for the speaker lifted. So there you go. One down. Let's check the controls. That one's got a little scratchy in it. A little bit. So we'll clean the pots. A little scratchy, not scratchy, not scratchy, not scratchy. Yeah, there you go. So there's your lot. I got one pot to clean and then we're done. So anyway, again, kind of uneventful, but that's your lot. Crate BX-100 bass amp. I think it's a bass amp. What's left of it anyway. I guess the customer pulled the chassis out and trotted it over to the music store and said, hey, this is broke. Do you guys know anybody who fixes it? And apparently the one guy says he only does tubes, and the other guy is like a year behind. So now it falls to me, and this took us, what, not too long, you know, just sniffing around. We didn't have to really do any detailed troubleshooting on the circuit. It was just a matter of figuring out, you know, is this correct, which, surprise, it actually is, and, you know, just finding out that the speaker had no ground connection because the headphone jack wasn't making contact. The end. Okay, next up we have a Squire Champ 15G digital cascading gain amplifier that I think must not work because the volume was turned up 1,000%. Every knob was turned up to full, and I'm guessing it doesn't output squat for sound. I was told it doesn't work. Let's see, I think there's a note in this one. Let's have a look here. Some of these had notes and some of them don't. This might be the name of the owner. Repair the input jack. Okay, sounds good to me. If that's what it is, that's what it is. Let's fire it up and see what I think it is. Okay, so I plugged it in and apparently it was on because it went to, when I turned it on, I heard it click. Oh yes, it's on. And I turn it up and it makes noise. Yeah, it makes noise. Okay, so let's plug our guitar into it. Let's turn our gains down here so I don't blow my face off. And let's just see, is this a real rattle box or... Okay, it doesn't make any sound at all. That input jack doesn't do nothing. Nothing, zip, zero, nada. And you can hear it tick when I plug it in. The tick sounds to me like the tip part is grounding or ungrounding, but it would be the ground part of it that's probably shot, so time to tear it apart. Okay, so here's what we got. This one is definitely different than like some of the Frontmen and the G deck or whatever. This might be newer, might be older, I don't know. I don't think it really matters. Again, our guess on this is the input jack being wallered up, which I would tend to believe because cheap plastic Fender input jacks. Let's see what we got. If we pull the knobs off, these are just, I think these actually don't hold the board in. I think they're just like stuck on there. I might have to get my tool to help me out here. Yeah, these just slip on through. They're not even screwed on. Okay, so pull the board out and then we'll look at the bottom. Okay, so I think this was one of the two I was warned about. This has a cracked PC board here. Get back in my chair while not tripping over the tripod. Sorry. Okay, so we got a crack in the PC board. It seems to affect, see, this is our tip is going through here because that's tip and sleeve or whatever. These two are still fine, but from here to there, that's your signal. That's why it's not working. It's this one right there. Now there's another one right here that isn't ripped that potentially could be, but you know, so I just want to check a couple of these that look like they might be ripped just to see. See, this one, that's not good. See, this is supposed to connect to that, and this one seems to be messed up. These two are okay. That's not. So that's your lot here. So we're going to put in some bodge wires and then we'll shoot that with some adhesive. Okay, some boards are easier than others. This has pretty thin traces, so they really don't want to play ball. Just repairing a broken trace is usually just a matter of using a piece of wire to hook A to B, or in this case I just used a little bit of stripped tinned wire just to kind of redraw the trace on top of the board. So now we just basically check to see if it solved the problem. Okay, so I put the circuit board back in and I still have to screw this stuff down, but otherwise, yep, that was it. So there's our guitar tone, gain, volume, treble, mid, and bass. So that's all it was. We just had a couple crack traces on the solder on the circuit board. So another one down. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next on the Repair-A-Thon is a Fender Frontman 15G. This is the more deluxe version of that Squire, I suppose. Let's see what it does. Put these at half and put the rest of it at, that's kind of wiggly, and I don't know, that one doesn't feel so good. What's up with that? It's got the little screw there that's loose. That would explain why it feels jiggly, huh? Alright, so let's turn this on and see what it do and what it don't do. Okay, got our volumes down so it's not going to blow up in my face. Okay, so it goes buzz, and those two don't do anything right now. That doesn't seem to do anything. Put it on the drive channel. Okay, yeah, the drive channel, it's trying to amplificate something. But what's it trying to amplificate? Let's plug in a guitar and see if it makes any difference. Okay. Okay, so that works. Kind of does make a lot of icky noise, but I know these kind of do that anyway. Okay, I don't see what's necessarily wrong with this, other than it's just noisy, like they can be, but it seems to work. And that's a noisy guitar. See, if I turn that guitar down, see, that's the guitar turned down. It's a little buzzy. Touching this though, grabbing the outside of that is kind of a little buzzy. It's like the earth ground isn't good or something. I wonder if that's why it's here. I suppose the answer's somewhere between a helicopter and a rhinoceros. Hell if I know. Okay, so I pulled the chassis out and I think I've already kind of figured it out. This has actually got one of those TDA modules, which if you ever have an amp that has one of those, please, for the love of Pete, do not turn it on with the speaker disconnected or some kind of load, because it will explode. And apparently there was a version of this that had reverb, but I think this is picking up its noise because these potentiometers are crusty and they're not making good secure ground to the plate, and that's helping it pick up excess noise. That, and they don't have it shielded worth a rat's backside. But other than that, I think this is just going to need general maintenance, so we're going to clean the pots, tighten everything down, and see where we're at. Okay kids, so you remember the ugly noise that this was making, how it would buzz and hum? Well, it doesn't do that anymore, other than, you know, the noise in the guitar pickups, because I've got a single coil P90 guitar out here that is a little noisy. So we'll turn the guitar's volume down to 0. I've got the normal volume at 5, and I've got the 3 pots there at 5. Turn it on and silence. Let's strum the strings and turn it up. So that's fine. That hum is the guitar. See, I can turn the guitar up and down. That's the guitar picking up the lights. And then we'll hop over to the drive channel here. And again, we turn down the guitar and it's quiet. So the main problem with this one is the nuts that hold the potentiometers in place there were loose, and it wasn't getting a good ground across this, and that was causing all kinds of pickup of noise and interference and weirdness. So there's a fix for anybody that owns one of these things. On to the next one.